Hey everyone, Dan here. Before we get into it, if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button. And keep in mind that these are my own thoughts, opinions, and ideas. These are not meant to be, nor should you take them as, investment or trading advice in any way, shape, or form. Do your own due diligence, put in the work for yourself, and make your decisions based on that. Enjoy. All right, folks, here we are on Monday, April 22nd. We're going to take a look at Spotify today. So with earnings coming up, I thought we'd come and check out some support and resistance levels on the chart, see where things might head or might settle based off of the earnings reaction. Now, we do have maybe one more thing to put in here, an uptrend support. We could see if it's gonna or if it wants to hold, if it comes down to it. But I did put in levels stretching here from 201 to the downside up to 354 to the upside. So let's cover those first and then we'll sort of zoom in a little bit. So the nearest in level that I have is 274. So if it does move relatively sideways, we might see it sort of just dip a little bit under, which is currently where it is. That 274 or rise just a little bit above that 274, but not do anything really tremendously impactful. And it might sort of pin itself there for a while. We'll see. I mean, this is a pretty ugly move as of late. So, it'll be interesting to see how that, how the market digests that along with sort of the mix of that with this run up, but recent pullback. And then, of course, the most important component, which is the actual numbers that are released themselves. Now, if it does come down further, we have this uptrend support. We'll see if that holds again. It's pretty flimsy at the moment, right? It had a nice chunk of action that it held up here, but really since then it's had such a distance from it that it hasn't had to test it. And so if it does come down, it'll probably come down hard, and banging into it that way will give it a real test. So all trend lines eventually break, so nothing really, no big loss there if it breaks it based off the earnings reaction. But if it does come down, that's what I'd be looking for. That will be pretty close in as well to this 253.54 level. So that might sort of provide it with a little bit of a two-pronged blanket of support, if you will. But as we know, sometimes the report comes out and the price will just jump levels to the upside, jump levels to the downside, and just skip through a bunch altogether. So if that happens to the downside, 237.91, 228.25, 218.66, and then I stop down here at 201. Now, if we get a rise, that approach to 300 seems like an obvious place to look for some resistance, 299.90, and then if it does get a foothold over 300, 319.75, 336.34, and then 354. Obviously, we covered a lot of ground here, so I'm not necessarily saying that in one day, based off the earnings, that it's going to go all the way down toward 200 or all the way up toward 354. But this will hopefully cover us for a period of time if it has a sustained movement in one direction or the other, based off of the aftermath of the earnings call itself. Now, like I said, some pretty ugly motion here. To the extent to which it at least came back down and filled this gap that it left when it rose up a bit over 8% on this day. You could say that has been accomplished. So maybe there's something there, but we'll see how the earnings reaction interrupts this really. I don't know what else to call it other than ugly motion that we currently see on Spotify. Now, on the think or swim side of things, back here, a really good call by the TTM squeeze indicator, triggering at the mid-range of the channel, fired, and that brought the price from about 158, 160, all the way up to that 313. So monster move, really good call out there. We're getting quite thin on the wave cloud here, so bullish momentum obviously dying down. That's reflected on the histogram here as well. And we'll see if this neutral cloud is able to hold or if that starts to slip and flip to red. Per this volume stack, this is showing about 2/3 sell volume coming in today. So again, ugly motion on this setup looks more like it was up out of the channel quite a bit, actually. Not for long, but it got quite far out, several candles not even touching the upper bound of the channel, and that just looks in here like a drawback in. But, the question is, today, did it confirm resistance at the mid-range of the channel? In other words, it didn't come down and test the support until it just slipped right through it, resisted off of it
on Friday, and then today, is it a confirmation candle of resistance? We'll see. But if it does move and stays within the bounds of the channel itself, 264.79 to the downside, 283.45 is the mid-range, that all-important mid-range right now, 302.11 to the upside. So it could move within that range as well and still stay within the channel. So we'll see if it's able to build anything, if it's able to retake the mid-range of the channel. Like I said, ugly motion, but may not mean much of anything. If it were any other trading day other than the eve of earnings, it might be a different sort of talking point. But I want to acknowledge ugly motion, but if the market really likes the earnings that are put out, we could just have a gap up, and it sort of throws that whole motion totally out the window. All right, folks, I hope that your trading week is off to a good start, and as always, I appreciate you watching, and I will see you in the next video.